All right. Well, I want to get started on this. So here's basically the flow that I was thinking we would do is
Yeah.
essentially hardcore league. I figured that today we're going to design a new hardcore league, but along the process, I don't want us to do the idea work because honestly, you work hard. You probably had a hard day. I work hard too. So thinking about stuff too difficult. So instead, you guys in chat are gonna just throw out ideas for themes of hardcore. So hardcore themes. Not like maybe not like entirely a specific mechanic, but like a good overarching theme, and then we'll kind of boil it down from there. So what we're gonna do is live. We're gonna track all the ideas here, and then we're gonna put up. I'll put up a vote in chat, and then we'll kind of go from there, or what's the best thing to do. So please throw out your ideas for a hardcore league. Ideas that fits really well. And then along the way, while we're doing all of this, we'll just talk about hardcore league and how, like, because obviously you work on designing these things, and you have some ideas about how they come about and kind of how something might be a good idea for a hardcore league versus a bad idea, that sort of thing. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I'm usually not the point man on these.
Yeah.
But I have actually I'm quite fond of how they're turning out. This last one was a bit of an experiment on whether or not a second run of the same rewards, like if that's a good idea to let
Mm-hmm.
people who hadn't participated the first time get a chance to earn them. We're also trying to mess with the time scale of it. Because
Yeah.
like it's a time box thing, and like if it's drawn out too long, it might not actually be as good as putting more content in a shorter space and running more of them, versus a longer league that runs for a long period of time.
Right.
Like there's a lot. It's very interesting. Like this is very much a learn as you go kind of game mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Titan
Um.
raid only hardcore season. I like it.
Yeah. Titan Raid only. Something I saw that's really interesting here is Storm. So Storm Reach houses themed league. And I
Hmm.
like this idea, like the Dragon Marked houses. I'm going to actually change this to Dragon Marked houses. Um, what about the idea of like a competition league where like when you log in, the NPC at the start makes you choose a team and you pick a Dragon Marked house, and then you do something.
Oh, Oh, so this would actually have like a collaborative leaderboard,
Yeah,
like the
possibly
sum
something like that.
total.
Yeah,
I like that, like a faction-based thing. That's something we haven't done before. That'd be pretty cool.
yeah, because they did that actually for the Lord of the Rings Online. They made you pick something on like a temporary like 1 month server, and it was pretty cool. It was a neat idea.
I
Um,
worry this would encourage people to simply kill each other.
100%. Yes, it's not a great idea. It's a good idea if like everything is going well, but things can go poorly right away.
Yeah, but at the same time, like maybe that's part of the charm. Like maybe
Hmm.
this is like a betrayer's thing.
Yeah.
Um, I like the idea of a faction league. I'm not sure if dragon marked houses are the best because I don't feel they're very mechanically developed and like.
Well, the Dragon Marked houses is like it's an easy way to pick a team, right? Because they
Mhm.
hold a lot of power. It fits with Eberron theme maybe.
Yeah, like it's definitely a storm reach. Like it's very important, but like half of the game takes place in the Forgotten Realms, and like yeah, I mean I don't know, it'd be pretty cool. We could also have like for example, we just pick very popular planes, like it's like you're getting elemental champions. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Um construct focus. I'm just tracking down ideas here. Something like that. A hell theme?
I think we
But
had a hell
it's as I
theme.
said, we that was already that was hardcore 2 was hell themed actually, which was very good. Very well done. So yeah, anything basically the idea of a faction. Actually, that's a great. That's its own idea. I don't even need Dragon House. Just a faction league. That's a really good
Yeah,
theme. So faction league, and you can break the factions down by plane. You can break the faction down by something where you could select different things. Yeah, that's a
yeah.
very interesting
I
idea
I kind of want to iterate on that. I feel like that's pretty good. Like I think that's really cool.
for
I
sure.
like the idea of a money themed league.
Money.
Um, yes, where your leaderboards are based on turning in chunks of platinum in 1 million at a time to some NPC.
Oh, what an idea! A platinum league. That's so
Yes,
cool. Oh, I love that idea. Oh,
that
let's.
would be pretty cool.
I'm gonna put that one in there. I'm good with
I
that.
like the idea of a pay-to-win league where whoever mails us the most loose change in a shoebox gets
It
the
has to, but it has to be just change. So,
No, yeah, okay. Well, then, I don't actually don't like that as much.
well, actually, I just realized loose change in the U.S. You have $1 bills, so I guess you could have some bills in there too.
Yeah,
It's not Canadian change.
a high lethality PvP league, would
Oh,
be
battle royale league. Just put
yeah,
everyone's in a room. I don't
that'd
know
be
if we'll
pretty
ever get
rough.
DDO battle royale. That's an interesting idea.
I think we're close to DDO cart. I think we're getting close. Like that's my mini game of choice. For abruptly jumping the shark into a different game genre.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, so I like this idea. And a league that is a Reaper related, but not like you have to go into Reaper mode, but it explores the story of like the Reapers somehow. So maybe like the individual rewards are tied into like the theme of the characters, because you know how it's always that big scary Reaper who looks over everything every time.
Mortality.
Yeah, mortality. He's just like run down. He's bummed. He's like having a rough time going on. You know, he just got out of a bad breakup and things aren't going well. And so it goes into like the story of the Reapers. I don't know. I'm gonna put this on here. I don't know if that's a great idea to iterate on. We can also choose a bunch of these things and kind of break down. I don't think this is too much, but yeah.
Yeah, I honestly, I'm just really excited about the concept of a faction league. Like, I think that's something that DDO could do and
Yeah.
would be fun. Like, I think that'd just be really fun. No Druids League, or it's just no Druids allowed.
How do you feel about time based time based progress? So imagine like either time based quest completions, so you only have so much time to complete each quest, or time based something. How do you feel about that? Like restrictions on players in a league.
I think that can be fun, but
Mm-hmm.
has to be done in a way that feels fair. Like, I've been playing a lot of Sonic Adventure 2, and they got these
Mhm.
racing levels.
Mm-hmm.
And the finish line for one of these racing levels is you have to, no joke, catch up to the limousine that the President of the United States is in. And I keep running out of time. I had to do this level like 10 times. I kept running out of time in the hardest difficulty of this. Um, while I was very, very close. And like it was like, oh no, you ran out of time, you didn't do it. But I'm like close enough to read the president's license plate. It says president, by the way. That's his license plate.
That's a good plate if you're the president. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm thinking about how that feels as far as like time is concerned, where if you just after a certain period of time fail the quest, that feels terrible if you're grinding really hard and you're like at the finish line kind
Yeah.
of a deal. Like I don't want to encourage that kind of failure because I'm playing through right now and it's terrible. I
Yeah.
don't like it.
When you're like right at the cusp and you're about to finish it.
Yeah,
Um,
it makes you feel like all the good stuff you did just didn't really mean anything. And DDO
yeah.
does that a lot with Hardcore League already. I don't want to double down. Like, we already have a penalty for failure. It's death. So, I don't know.
A festival focused league. I love that idea. Festival league where they're all active at the same time.
I think we need better festivals before we do that.
I mean, yeah, but it's still an idea. I'm just jotting stuff down.
We're working on it. I think Snow Peaks is going well so far.
I mentioned this before. Snow Peaks is probably my favorite event because I don't have to do anything. And now with the changes to Night Revels, it's the same thing. I just don't like farming keys. So just playing the game and getting keys, oh, so much better.
Yeah, I mean, I think we still have a more work to do. Like, but I'm happy with the direction we're going. Random Build League is solid. I think that's a
You
good one.
do?
Yeah. Random Build League is solid. Paths Only League is solid. Um,
Okay, I'll put that on here. Paths only league.
I
That's good.
think that yeah, if we're doing a Paths Only League, we would probably make a whole bunch of really interesting paths.
Oh, they would be like
Um,
pre-designed for each one, so each class would have like a couple.
yeah, and like maybe you just are forced like if I'm thinking about Random Build League, we don't want to just break your character because I don't think that's very fun. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? We want to shake it up. We don't want to like just give you a half druid, half cleric, and you know what I mean? Like, so it would kind of be it's all like one idea in which we would build paths and you would randomly be assigned one, but you wouldn't know what those are.
Oh, interesting. Maybe that could be interesting. I was thinking like path only league would be a similar competitive league where there would be a
Hmm.
leaderboard for each class.
I think if we had some sort of, oh, that's speaking of faction league.
Yeah,
What if it's a faction league, but it's like a per class faction, or like we split it by like arcane? We could just arbitrarily group them together, and it's like a no multi-class allowed thing. You know what I mean?
maybe. But I'm just trying to fill in these things. But yeah, that's an interesting idea. If it's like by sphere, so you have like the primal versus martial
Yeah,
versus yeah, or by alignment.
by alignment. Yeah, well, true neutral would win by quite a lot. Um,
Yeah, true neutral would win by a lot. So that's probably a bad one.
that's my alignment in real life. Would you
That
say
would
you
make
have an alignment?
the favored soul league. I don't know about that. That's every hardcore league. Like league where all levels are different. I mean, that sounds like it would be an insane amount of work if you could just randomize stuff. How much randomness do you think you could throw into the game?
Quite a bit. Like we can really mess with players. We just out of courtesy, we don't. Um,
Yeah, because I'm just thinking of like random ideas. You've got, quests take you to different places. When you level up, it automatically assigns you random things. The items in your inventory change stats every time you go through a door.
I mean, like, the thing is, like, we can do that. Um,
None of this
it's
sounds fun, but
yeah. Sometimes it's random, and it really just it's randomness that this is designed to waste the player's time, and we try really hard not to do that.
yeah. When you enter the dungeons,
Um,
random dungeon for that level, oh man, that's way too much Titan for me.
yeah.
Uh,
There's been some desire for like a flashback league where like we roll back some large systemic changes, or more accurately, recreate original conditions. Like for
mm,
example, debuffs are being permanent. You know?
okay, so like a DDO classic league where like blindness is
Yeah.
permanent and you lose XP when you. Well, I guess you lose a lot of XP when you die.
Well, you do. You lose XP when you
You lose a
die.
little bit of
Yes.
XP when you die, but yeah.
I don't know if we should go back to like leveling sigils. Well, it's like kind of the problem with DDO is that a lot of our legacy stuff is like we've moved on from it because the original design was not so great.
Yep.
And there's just a lot of really fun stuff that we have now that if you simply removed it from the game would not be as fun.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Like
There's
if we want the old enhancement system, like I think that would be novel for people who've never seen it before and a little nostalgia for people who have,
it
but
would get
I
old
don't
real
think
fast.
yeah, I don't think people would have a good time trying to figure out what their options are and realizing that it's not written down anywhere in the video game.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, any other ideas here? Randomized dungeon master? I don't know what that means.
we could do a hardcore league where it's just me heckling you. Like I'll record 100 lines of heckling, 100 hours worth of heckling, and just
Just every time you do anything, it's ha 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 ha.
yeah, exactly,
Every
like a
time.
laugh track.
Yeah.
Um,
Laugh track league?
laugh track league would be fun.
That's not a bad idea.
I don't know. One idea that I've floated around internally that everybody hates but me
Hmm.
would be some sort of Iron Man, like from RuneScape, where you're not allowed to trade or group up with anybody.
Yeah, solo league. I mean, some people would be
Yes.
interested in that. I'm actually gonna write that down because I think that we might have time to go through and iterate a couple of these. But solo league,
Yeah.
that's a great idea.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people play through hardcore by themselves anyway. I don't personally, but I know a lot of people that do. Yeah, it's basically just solo self-owned.
I don't know. I just really like the idea of a faction league. Like,
Me
I think
too.
we should dive in on that. Like, I think it's
I
really
agree.
cool. Um, houses. Like, what other? I suppose we could just like pick in-game factions.
Yeah, in-game factions are good. For sure.
Like, I kind of feel like, oh yeah, like
Oh,
pick a
like
deity
religious
would be cool.
factions. Yeah, deity factions. There's not that many.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm sorry,
also,
there's like a lot of banging coming on.
it's okay. It's not coming through. At least I don't hear it. You know what else is great? Modules. So, Eberron, which I spelled wrong, versus Forgotten Realms, versus Ravenloft, versus
Greyhawk.
Greyhawk, because we have a few Greyhawk quests
I think so.
where you got to pick the one that you associate with, and then you get something based on it. It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. I like so like by plane I feel like we shouldn't do like the full 18 or whatever planes of Eberron.
Yeah, there's too many. There's literally too many.
I think we start with like the easy ones, which is like Rizia, Fernia, Maybar, and like maybe one other, maybe this is just it.
Yeah, and you just
Because
pick
like
it.
this would be like let's think about what that would even do. I think we should your name should somehow reflect this. Like if you're like in the Rizia thing,
Like
your
your name
name
would be red in town.
in for Fernia, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Or yeah, if you're, it's like Fernia, it's red. Rizia would be like blue. Maybar would be unreadable
purple.
because it'd be too dark.
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting because like our game has a lot of white text on black, which is not usual for text-based things. So everything larger, everything darker, at a certain point just becomes unreadable.
Yep.
So like I kind of want to go into like faction league.
Okay, sounds good. I love this idea. Having the idea of having like ways for people to compete. This could also possibly include the Platinum League, or this could be like how they compete. I have no idea.
I feel like that would be a good thing for like some sort of coin lords based thing where it's like you're picking some sort of faction and maybe we pick like notable business people because we kind of have a lot. Like we have
Yep.
Vaunt, who I guess blew up, but we can
You can bring him back.
pull him.
You
can
can
bring him
just
back,
like
it's
you can
fine.
literally have him there with like a Forge Wraith right behind him the whole time with like its hand on his shoulder, and he's like, yeah. I'm just here. I'm here for a little bit.
Yeah, you know, I've been so like a faction league. I'm making a new header over here using their header tool here.
Yeah.
Put
sounds good.
leaderboards by faction, or
Okay.
it's like we should also have like faction totals for like RXP and favor.
Yeah, because you never have to reinvent the wheel, like get rid of the RXP in favor as like a general thing just to show off. But I feel like the idea of having, if you imagine you had a faction, like so some type of faction based competition, would every
Yeah.
faction be competing for the same thing, or would every faction be competing for different things? Imagine you had like a faction.
That's a good point.
In like, because this platinum idea is really easy. 1 million platinum collected, you put it in a chunk, and then boom, automatically you've got like 1 point for your faction. But then say
Wait,
you have another
do you have
faction
this-
which they have to collect a certain type of collectible, or they have to deposit something else instead.
I like the idea of some sort of collectible based thing. I think that'd be pretty interesting, like a treasure hunt almost.
Treasure Hunt League, interesting. Yeah,
It would be interesting.
it could be part of it. Dragons of Arganessen League. Oh, that's so many dragons. I don't know if having factions be guilds is maybe the best idea, because that means the faction is going to be a representation of the individual people, which could be good or bad, versus the game, which is neutral, because people will just pick the factions they like the most. I think that guilds should be separate, so you can still be in the guilds that you want, as opposed to having to be in a specific guild. Oh yeah, collectors. Category nailed down for faction competition.
I really like yeah,
This-
some sort of like maybe some sort of faction based buff, or like, oh wait, maybe there should be like a buff if you're currently on the top of the leaderboard. Or like maybe if you're not on the top of the leaderboard.
I was gonna say it should be if you're on the top of the leaderboard you have a debuff, and if you're on the bottom you have a buff. And it scales between the two. So if the farther you are to the closer you are to the top, the biggest debuff you have, and the closer you are to the bottom, the biggest buff you have.
I like this if we can make it so that every single faction thing is only like 3 factions, because any more than 3 I think would just get really confusing, and like
Yeah. And there's too many
I
teams at that point.
there's too many teams.
Yeah.
Why not just be like minus 20% RXP if your faction is at the bottom, plus 20% RXP, and that way it will self-correct, like for RXP. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you could extrapolate that out to, would you want to build something where each faction has a specific benefit or bonus or change? Imagine for a moment, like, when you choose a faction, you get a buff for being as a part of a faction. So, like, if it's Fernia, Recia, Maybar, like, you pick Maybar, you have Death Ward now.
Be pretty cool. I don't know. I honestly we would actually need to run both. Like we would actually need to do 2 seasons and see if people like them. Like I don't know, because a part of me says that we should make faction allegiance to be entirely aesthetic based, so that you can play what you want and rep the faction that you personally like the most. Like for example, this particular case, you would actually get different rewards depending on.
Yeah, you would have rewards based on your like the faction that you have, which would mean that you might have to make multiple characters to play in all the factions.
But that's great though. Like
Yeah.
like once you're done, you can go, well, I wanted that the most. I could play with a different thing. Like
Yeah.
I think that's great. And like and that's the thing is like
And it would encourage people to play every faction.
it would encourage people to play every single faction. And that's why I don't think giving out specific buffs is a good idea, because it's like if you're really all about red's your favorite color, but like Death Ward is just the best choice and you don't feel comfortable not running in it, then like I feel like this works based on the faction chosen.
I don't know. I really like the idea of there being like something that you get specifically for picking each one, even if it doesn't have to be something like that. Maybe each one has a special vendor in town that has a thing, or
Like what if, gosh, I think that's like there should definitely be like benefits that are based on being on top. Like you should want to be on top because otherwise it's just minus 20% RXP and that feels terrible.
that feels terrible. Yeah.
So there should definitely be some sort of thing that you're unlocking by being at the top of the collective leaderboard here. And like, well, this is really interesting because it's like if a high profile person on the leaderboard dies, you actually could get knocked out of the top spot.
True, because it would be all of the living people. So imagine somebody who's
people.
pushing for the, like Reaper XP or something dies, and then they die, and so then you lose 100,000 from your team.
Yeah, no, that'd be pretty cool. There's got to be some sort of benefit. Maybe it is just as simple as like there's a specific, like the Reaper vendor, or like a new, like each individual faction has a representative NPC that will give out buffs or do something.
Yeah, like I would like it doesn't. When I said Death Ward, I'm not like dead set on the idea. It's not like that you would have to do something like that. It was mostly just each faction could have something that they do.
Yeah, I don't think we need to get too serious here. Like like I don't know if we need to be too in the weeds about specifically like an idea of what exactly it should give you, but like this could also be things like access to like cheap like guild vendor tier stuff.
Yep.
Like what if there's a set of NPCs that only talk to you if you're on the top, so you could stock up on like potions and stuff or wands and scrolls.
Yeah, they could give you special rewards. I also like the idea of this is a cool one since it's actually a competition. It reminds me of Elder Scrolls. What if the top of each category in each faction has like a special denotation? So like literally like so you're like the Reaper champion and the Favor champion for each server, or each team. So you're sitting in town and you see some dude walk by and they just look really visually impressive because they're the champion for their whole team.
So we can accomplish this by having special nameplates. You know the little TR swoopy swoops?
Yeah.
What if we just build different swoopy swoops, and your name gets the special glowy swoopy swoops if you're one of those people, and the color depends on the thing.
Yeah. So then it's not only top of the leaderboard is like the reward because you're like, I'm the best, but also people, when you're in town, will be like, oh my god, that's like #1 fire team. And so if you're on Fernia team, just because the three right now, the different faction thing makes sense. If you're on like Team Fernia, you'll be like, that's the person that's making it so I can get my potions now from this vendor.
Yeah, and like I think Chad is right that there is an incentive to play dirty across factions,
Probably.
and yeah, I think as long as players are aware of this, then I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. Like maybe that's just part of the hardcore experience. Because like there's not a lot a player can do to kill you in a public area. You know what I mean? Like if you're just playing all by yourself and doing
Yeah.
good things, they can't enter your instance without joining your party. You know.
Yeah.
No, this is actually pretty legit. Like this is too good of an idea that now I'm worried that we're talking about this on this live stream and we're not going to be able to do it because this idea is too good.
No, it's a
Like
great. But first of all, we designed many things that were too good, like the entire Kobold race idea, where you get
that's true.
where you get stats based on your loot, and each
That's
gem
great.
color gives you different stats. So
So
we've come up with goofy, insane, perfectly good ideas before.
oh, and also to answer, this is a really good chat question here. Is like, are you worried about having a dead faction? Like for example, the idea will be like 33% on each of them, but what if it's like 50, 40, 10? And like, I'm not because the group in last place gets a bonus on their RXP. So if you're just soloing and you don't care about this faction thing, you're actually going to want to pick the one in last place
Because you get a reward.
because you get a reward. Like,
Yeah.
no, that's like this is just solid. This is good. This is good game design. This is an encouragement to group up with people that you know. We could like theme the LFMs. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh, the elephants would be color coded based on the leader. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah, that's a great question. How would this interact for people that don't do any Reaper mode on hardcore, which is probably 80% of the hardcore Reaper player base to 90%.
really, I thought it was. I mean, like
I don't. You
we
guys have the
have the
stats and I
rewards.
don't. But like, I know a lot of people
Oh,
get
I
the
don't know how to read.
like.
I
Well,
don't
like
know how
a
to
lot of
read.
people get the favor rewards, and very few people get the Reaper rewards by comparison. When you
So
look at the leaderboard.
this is the problem with having favor as a reward track,
Mhm.
is because there's not a way to increase or decrease it. Like, what if,
So
like,
what if for
what else
faction
can we
league
track?
favor? I was to say, yeah. What if favor? It wasn't RXP and favor. It was RXP and something. What else would you track?
What else? What else would we track? I mean, honestly, I actually think that platinum being turned in 1 million at a time would be it. Like,
Yeah, platinum could be good.
platinum could be good. Regular XP, but there's so much of it. Like,
Especially turning in XP or like total collected XP would be kind of weird. Plus,
kind
also
of
if you,
weird.
although to be fair though, I was thinking like, what if you're going for a 5K? But obviously, if you're not tracking favor, then how would you reward people? Because XP is already a reward, like for getting level 20 or
Yeah.
whatever it is, and also you get higher levels, so you can do more stuff.
Hmm. It's kind of tough because like we're really good at rewarding players in their game loop intrinsically, and
Mhm.
we're like this is a secondary reward where we're looking at our reward systems and seeing what else we can do to encourage people to play that way. And RXP is really good for this because it's like, it's a total that goes up that you feed into. But
Yeah.
like regular XP doesn't do that because over the course of DDO's normal game loop, you
Mhm.
reincarnate and you go back down to 0. But just tracking total earned is not something that we do with XP. Like it's something else, you know?
Yep.
Um.
Ooh. Guild renown could just be faction renown.
Oh, yeah. It's just faction renown, and we replaced the guild renown thing, or we added. Oh my god, we actually could just add it in. Like literally, I actually have looked in that code in the last week.
Yeah, you just
Like
add in faction renown. So whenever you loot
faction
chests.
renown. There you go. And then and we could also have the leaderboard be like personal earned faction renown.
Yeah. So you can see who's the top faction leader and the top Reaper XP
Yeah.
leader.
And we not only that, but we can actually get really harsh with the specific ransack, so that we can have like each chest only tracks like twice ever, or 3 times ever per chest in the whole game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To prevent people from farming specific things.
Yeah, because I was going to say, the problem with most things on like Platinum, there's like higher levels more farmable. Or Sentient XP, higher levels, like if there's like a sacrificial pit where
Yeah.
you threw named items into it.
No, this is really good. And also, to be fair, what we can do is if you earn the faction XP, we'll give you the equivalent in your guild renown if you're in
Yeah.
a guild.
Oh,
Just so you're not that way you're not screwing your guild
yeah.
over
Or
by
like
you know what I mean.
it could be like literally 1 point every time you get a guild renown token, that sort of thing. Or like you could even make a separate token in every chest.
I want it to be a separate token, and I want the guild renown to not drop because I don't want people to get confused and take a guild renown when faction XP is what they're tracking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
and I think the fairest thing to do is just, I don't know, maybe have guild renown tokens show up even if you're not in a guild on hardcore, and if you pick them up on hardcore, they add to your faction rep or personal rep or something, and like, no,
Yeah.
that's solid.
Yeah, that's a good idea. This is a
Um,
good idea. And then it would, as was pointed out, yeah, you would be encouraged to do optionals because if you only loot each chest, like imagine you can only get
yeah,
the faction renown like twice per chest or something. So there you go.
yeah, and like what that means is that unlike favor, which people end up like you kind of like slow roll your XP. The fact that you can reincarnate, which would wipe all of these, means that you actually can just play to 20 and back to 1 again without worrying that you're kicking yourself off the leaderboard.
You could reincarnate, which brings in that whole system. That's a great idea.
This is solid. This is going to be in the video game. Like that, I tell you right now, this is a good idea.
This is a good
Like
idea.
this is just a good idea. And you
Um,
know who made this possible? Chat.
yeah, literally, this is entirely you guys. We're
Chat
just reading
invented
what you
this.
guys say. So it's important to remember that, and I've talked about this before. What matters is putting people in the right place to get things done. When I put a group together in DDO, I get the 5 other people in the group. That's my job done. I'm AFK at the start. Please do the quest now. Thank you. It's just like the same thing. We got you guys together in the same room. Boom, you did it.
No, this is like I like this because not only is this really easy for me to build personally, and so I can go back to playing Sonic the Hedgehog, um, but like, don't put that in the video. Get that out there.
uh,
um,
yeah.
no, I think there's a lot of reasons to like this. I think that adding and whether or not we do this with faction stuff, the idea that this would be a separate type of XP only available on hardcore means that this could be a replacement for favor in the long term. That
Yeah.
would encourage you to do different dungeons the same way that favor does, but it wouldn't penalize you for skipping things that you like, with the exception that like you're gonna have to go back and do the whole thing. You're gonna have to play the game longer rather than wider,
Yeah.
kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like, I guess the question for chat is that how do you feel about the favor requirement for hardcore? Do you feel like that's like do you feel like that's a good metric to track? Because like we run into mechanical problems with
Mhm.
it because favor is like baked into like how quests are done. Like we don't have a way of increasing your favor rewards or decreasing it.
Yeah.
Um, and
So
that's like so it's kind of crunchy. But like, how do you feel about favor as a reward system?
yeah. So
Don't like favor, hate doing 5K. Favor's the best part. Uh-oh.
my personal thing is I don't like doing 5K on hardcore. I find that it's cool because you get to like run a bunch of different quests, but sometimes you're just like you have to run a whole bunch of quests you really hate doing. That you just like as somebody who plays the game a lot, you just hate it. But I don't think it's entirely a bad reward. It would just be nice to have a change up. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
5K favor or however many K in the future when there's more quests, and sometimes it's something else. It'd be nice to have something to go back and forth, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It looks like people, generally speaking, if you'll forgive me from summarizing chat here, is that people like how favor makes them branch out,
Yeah.
but they don't like it if they're being forced to branch out into things that they've already tried and know they don't like. Like, it's one thing for us to be like, hey, try these cool quests you haven't done, and everyone's like, ooh, that's a little neat. And another thing to be like, hey, try these cool quests that you don't do because you don't like them, and they go, but I don't like these.
Yep.
And that's. I feel like if we mess with the ransack of this sort of reward thing, this kind of is a self-solving problem because you're still encouraged to go broader
Yep.
in order to get your stuff, but you don't really have to go broader if you don't want to.
Yeah, you could run each quest one time. You could run the same quest a few times and grind it out. You have those options. So yeah.
No, I think that what we could probably do is do some sort of like the first time you get a thing. I like this thing being in chests because it encourages optionals.
Yeah, which is very cool.
Yeah.
Because in 5K you ignore every optional every time because the XP doesn't matter because you're always overcapped.
Yeah. That's the thing is like the 5K run caps you out on XP, and then that honestly, from personal experience, feels kind of bad.
I
Like
hate doing
I
quests when
don't
I
like
can't gain
it.
XP anymore. So yeah. Will champion chests have those rewards? I don't know.
No
Well, this
idea.
this would depend on the champion.
I mean, that's the thing is maybe if we can't figure it out, we'll just turn off champ tests on hardcore. Like DDO is incredibly modular, and we'll just pull the no fun allowed button and
And just get rid
get
of
it
them.
out of there.
Yeah. Or maybe champ, like when you kill champs, they would drop a different type of token. So they would drop something that you would like turn into your faction leader. So you turn in 100 tokens for a point or something.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
So it's not that they wouldn't apply. So you could, in theory, just farm the same thing if you wanted. But it wouldn't be at the same rate. So you still get a benefit from
I
doing it.
like that because like they're like I actually want to put this in this doc here. Champions match the factions. Turning in your own faction gets you more rewards. One in the group gets a thing. That way it's like you're playing with your group and you got like all three of the people of the faction in your group, and you fight a red champion, and it gives each of you like one red doohickey, but the red person can go to the red NPC and go, oh, from the red faction. Give me 3 points.
Yeah.
Rather than like the 1 point kind of a thing. Or maybe it's like every other one gets more, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see that. Red names have a faction? Well, if there's a red faction. How would you choose one? Is
I
it on
think
character
that
select? Is there an NPC in town? Do you
I
have to
would
get to
think
a certain level?
there would probably be an NPC, probably the hardcore vendor, the first thing like straight up if you don't join a faction, you're not going to earn your stuff, kind of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
like
because
you just
it's a
got to talk
faction
to the
event.
thing.
So yeah, you have to join the faction.
Yeah, worst case scenario, we can just put a teleport volume in all the places players zone into the video game for the first time. We put you in a room with an NPC that doesn't let you leave unless you pick a faction. Like, we'll figure it out.
And how do you feel about
Um,
faction change once you pick one?
um,
Because my opinion would be you don't change faction. You make a new
I don't
character.
think, yeah, I don't think you should change factions. Although I don't know, maybe it's one of those things where like there's a I don't know, like you can do it exactly once kind of a deal, or if you collect enough points kind of a deal.
What if, to ensure people aren't, because this reminds me of the Epic Destiny thing. So since the Epic
Mhm.
Destinies have been changed, I've played with multiple people who are 23, 24, 25, and then they go, yeah, but hey guys, how do I get my Epic Destinies? And I'm like, ah. So what if
Mm.
the class trainers, when you go to level up, are like, you have to pick a faction, and like, yeah, it's just you get the option to talk to like the NPC at the start. So whoever the faction is, so like when you
Doesn't the life shaper, or not the life shaper, the fate spinner, doesn't she literally tell you like, hey, don't you want epic destinies? You should talk to me when you level up. How are they leveling up without it? We
because
should
you
make
can
that text
choose
red.
only one of the epic destinies and then continue leveling up. You don't have to actually unlock them all. So some
Hmm.
people will unlock one or two and think that's the whole system, and
Okay.
then yeah.
No,
So
that's fair. It's that's one of the hardest things for our team to do is tutorialization and vectoring.
yeah.
But we can keep iterating on this until we get it right. Like we can keep adding more and more and more directionals until we've run out of people that
Yeah,
haven't
no one
figured that out.
slips through the net. Everyone
Yeah,
gets
well,
caught.
I'm making a mental note that gotta look at that.
So how about imagine that like the three faction people are standing together. It's not one NPC, it's actually three. So you're on the
Yeah,
beach, and then there's three NPCs right there, and every place where you would have the one mortality, you would just have the three NPCs are standing there. Um,
that makes sense. Yeah, and like that could also be the NPC that does like the buffs and stuff, or like some other benefit.
yeah. So there's like one in
Um,
Korthos, and yeah, you can just put them around.
yeah, that's some wisdom in chat. You can't force people to read. That's true,
You cannot
but
force people to read.
we can try really hard. Like we can.
Yeah.
That's like my number one DDO developer gripe. This is like I'm digging really deep here. This is the only thing that gets me a little annoyed. Because I'm usually pretty zen and pretty upbeat. Is when people go, I don't understand why the weapons from Feywild don't break cold iron DR. but they do. They say that they do in their description and in the weapon text. And also their name is like ferrocrystal, which is a play on like iron crystal, like it's crystallized iron.
Yep.
And I don't know how to make that more clear, but people get really mad. They're like, "Why did you do this? This is terrible." And I don't know how to make that better. I don't know how to
Yeah,
I don't know what to do.
yeah, it's like I don't know how to help you. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I don't know. Like DDO's got a lot of words in it, and like we really need to explore in the long term
Yep.
better ways of connecting people to information. Like we need to figure out some way to connect those dots because if like benefit of the doubt here, an item tooltip is it's just a gigantic wall of information. You're bombarded with it. It's just words. It's all the same color, and so yeah, your eyes would glaze over.
Yep.
And like so we have to figure out some sort of way to connect these dots to encourage players to like parse a tooltip in a different way. And like yeah, like I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's less of a DDO problem and more of a game design problem.
Yeah, it's a
Like
problem in like every video game where sometimes people just won't know. They're just not
yeah.
reading the right stuff, and so they're just not. Even though you give them access to all the information in the world and you put it right in front of the face, you still get people who are stuck and can't do stuff. Um,
Yeah, because you give a human being so much stuff in a short period of time,
mhm.
like like they're just gonna stop reading. Like if someone on the street handed you a pamphlet and started talking to you about like how great basketball was, you just want to get out of there. Like
Yep.
like you just
Yep. 100%.
yeah.
I've had this problem too. Like I play a lot of video games. And sometimes I'll start a new game and I'll be streaming it, and then I'm like, I don't understand why I can't do this thing. And people in the chat are like, it just told you to do this. I'm like,
It's just
oh, yeah.
well, like
Mm-hmm.
you can think like, and it's not. This is not unique to DDO too.
Yeah.
Like one of the best video games of all time, Stardew Valley. The subreddit is inundated with posts every so often, where the first things players do is somehow they go to the shipping bin and they put all their stuff into it, selling it immediately forever because they think it's like some sort of chest because it looks like a chest.
Mm.
And that keeps happening. They're like, "Oh no, did I break my save?" And they're like, "Yes, you did. Why did you do that?" And it's because there's too much information. Like it's a lot going on.
Yep.
Anyway, that's my one DDO gripe. But it's like, it's about continuous improvement. We're lucky because it's a
Mm-hmm.
live game. We can always improve. We can always do better than we have been doing. And like accessibility is also something that we're really trying to put things together. Like color coding stuff, if you're colorblind, doesn't help. Like doesn't do anything. Makes it worse.
Yep. Um, I mean, having options and stuff for being like, hey, I'm colorblind. Can I get this different way to visualize the same thing? I mean, you can probably accomplish two birds with one stone if it's like each faction has both a colored name and each the loopies at the end are different symbols based on your faction. So
Yeah, like we could
you can see
do.
both.
That's good. Yeah.
Like I'm red green
Like
colorblind, so I feel the problem of like not being able to see stuff. Most video games use green for good and red for bad, which is terrible.
I I saw this thing online where it's like green for good, red for bad. But when was the last time you saw a health potion that wasn't red? So like,
Right?
yeah, like what, colors don't make any sense.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've actually appreciated. The game Elder Scrolls Online, they make it so you can change the colors of all of the visual indicators. So even like ground effects, they're baseline red to be like, oh, this is an enemy effect, or a green for a friendly effect. But you can just change the colors. They just give you a little wheel, and you're like, oh, this is perfect.
I wish we could do that.
Yeah.
Like this is one of the areas in which like DDO is a legacy project. It's very old, and so a lot of its core design was made before accessibility was really in the forefront of people's minds.
Yeah.
And so like we're playing catch up here. We're trying really hard to get these things together, but like I can tell you right now, probably not gonna be able to do that,
Yeah,
even though that'd be really
it's an old
important.
game. You're like, DDO, do this, and it just growls at you. You're like, oh god.
Yeah, like it's rough. It's
Okay.
rough.
So focusing
But
back on Faction League.
yeah, hardcore. That's right.
Hardcore. Yeah. So ways to identify people of different factions. You'd have an NPC who you'd be like, you would assign yourself to of some kind.
Oh wait! Oh my God! We have a whole title system that players aren't allowed to access. It just sets the title property on you. You like literally.
What?
Your faction appears in your nameplate, and easy peasy. We already built that.
There's a
No
title
problem.
spot?
Don't tell anybody.
Huh?
Yeah, there's a whole title spot. It's
Okay.
it's underneath the guild. The problem is that the it's a little cut off at the bottom because the actual UI element it's inside, it's not tall enough.
So
Um,
what I would love to do is also as a separate section to this, add in a whoops, I forgot that's mine. A separate like if there was no budget on this project.
yeah.
So if there was no budget on this project, something that would be very cool to add onto something like this would be like custom UI elements. So like when you pick a team, all your UIs get like maybe like the flag or other things that go on. So you look at your character sheet. Obviously, this would be overwritten if you have a custom one.
Oh
But like
yeah,
like your
that'd be
inventory
really
like changes
cool.
color and it has like symbols for the thing or whatever.
Yeah, no, that'd be
So
like
obviously redoing the entire UI 3 times would be way too much work for a hardcore league. But if there's no
that'd be
budget,
right after we make it 4K compatible. We'll get right on this. We'll no, that's I think that's really cool. City of Heroes does this, and it makes a big difference.
yeah.
Um, it's like and that's the thing is like players can tell you, like they can tell me, a new UI skin makes a huge difference. Like it makes the game look really, really, really good. There's some really competent, really amazing artists out there that have done some excellent work
Yep.
putting together these things. We're so happy that we're able to support this again. Like it's just really cool. I'm always really happy when I see people run with uh run with custom stuff. It all looks fantastic. So great job if you make custom UIs.
So I'm assuming each faction would have their own set of rewards.
Cosmetic rewards, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
So they would all have their same like,
mhm.
level 20 Reaper XP 1/2 and whoops. Wait, what? It made a fraction? Oh, I
Google
didn't know you
Docs,
could do
no.
that. 1/2. I didn't know you could do that. Very cool. And faction rep 1/2. So then these would all
I
be their
feel
own
like
custom rewards or whatever it is.
yeah, like that's just seems really cool. The more I think about faction rep, the more I feel like we can use this not just for a faction thing, but like we can debut this sort of system, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like oh yeah, and the special reward for being the top faction would be like super secret.
Yeah, no one would know about that. It would be like a special cool thing.
And like that would get revealed after the season of like after who won, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or maybe
Oh, you know, be
um
sick. If there was no budget, your character select changes based on faction.
that we
So
can do.
when you
Easy
like
peasy.
click on the character instead of loading into like I think they're in like Sharn or Stormreach or wherever it is, the background, instead it
Oh,
looks
not
like
that.
your
That's
faction
yeah.
area. It's a whole
I
animated background.
on my big list of things that I would just change and no one would be able to tell me to stop. Um I don't like it that the iconic and normal characters one the iconic has the gold little hooky thing.
Yeah.
I don't like that, and I kind of want to get rid of it and make it so that all of them have the same plate,
But
or
then how will I know if it's
change.
iconic or not? Without the gold hooky thing, there's no way to know.
I think that the solution here would be to hook into some sort of like your legend status or like your number of reincarnations, or it's like if you're a I don't know, you get like a certain ones of like if you're completionist or something like that. So you like get like an at a glance visual would be cool. But in the meantime, I just don't like that they are separated differently. Because like
Hmm.
half my bank tunes are iconics and half of them are not. And like if my main is not, then it's just lost in a sea of iconics and it looks unspecial, even though it's the most special character. And it just irks me.
Yeah. What's to prevent everyone from making level 1 character for each faction to get each faction reward win? Well, you see,
Oh, that's the thing, is like it's if you've earned any reward, um
if I TR, do you lose your faction?
for
No, the
the
idea is that because the system would be based on a renown-based system, so as opposed to being favor, your character will continue to earn more renown. So it's think of it like instead of being favor, it's like favor equivalent. So you can only earn. There's like a limit on how much renown you can get per life, And so if you want to get more, you either make a new character or you just reincarnate to keep earning it. So the idea is that every time you would loot like a chest, instead of getting guild renown, you would also get this faction renown concept, and it would kind of fit together. But there'd be a limit on how many times you could loot each chest instead.
Yeah.
So you can't just repeat the same thing. Eventually, you do have to reincarnate to get more.
I mean, yeah, like I don't know, that stuff could carry through to reincarnation, like or not carry through, like we wipe it when you reincarnate. There's a lot to discuss here.
Yeah.
But as far as super secret rewards, um, it's like the you get your rewards based on your faction. Like the level 20 like cloak or something changes depending on which faction you're on when you earn it.
Yeah.
So like if you want one of each, you're gonna have to level 23 times with like 3 different factions.
Right.
But the super secret reward, which is only revealed after the season, everybody who's earned any reward gets it, but it's based on the team that won. So like there's a red team shield that everybody gets, even if you weren't on the red team.
Yeah, so that makes sense. So everyone gets the top reward as long as you played.
As long as you played it all. Like if you have any of these rewards, like have it unlocked on your account,
Yeah.
then you qualify for the thing.
Does Guild Renown Ransack? No, so it'd have to be a separate thing.
Yeah, we'll build something else. Like
Definitely be individual rewards earned in addition. Yeah, there would there would be the faction rewards, that would be the whole concept behind the system because it's a faction thing. Like I feel like if you're gonna tell everybody they're playing a faction league for X amount of months, then yeah. Okay. And
yeah, like the individually earned rewards are like these. Like if you get to level 20, your account gets the level 20 reward. It's just based on which faction you picked. Like if you pick the fire faction, you get to level 20, you get your cool fire cape, your cool level 20 fire cape. If you pick the ice faction, you get the ice cape. So, but it's like based on your personal achievement. But all your stuff also goes to the faction leaderboard, and if your faction's doing really good, you get extra stuff.
The Kobold faction, yeah, we don't even know what the extra faction things would be.
Yeah, I think like there's just a lot of like D&D is very very good about segmenting a population into a group of iconographically unique things.
Yep. In chosen versus assigned faction. Well, the problem is if you assign a faction, then let's say you and your other two friends decide to play the game together. If something is assigned, now you're all in different factions, possibly, or you keep deleting characters till you're on the same faction.
Oh wait, what if? So you earn your own set of rewards, right? What if you win, the rewards are upgraded somehow, like they get like particles and stuff?
Oh, to show that you were on the winning team.
That well, technically yes, but like so, like say you get the level 20 fire cape, right?
Okay.
And then the fire team wins.
Yeah.
After the fire team wins, the fire cape now is on fire and like glows and has fire on it because it's like extra upgraded.
Would that be a separate item, or would the same item be altered? Like, would there be like a level 2 of each reward?
I mean,
because like, what if you don't like you like the way the cape looks, but then the fire you don't like the fire, but you've ground it out for a thing, and then it was like surprise, it's better, and you're like, I don't like it.
I kind of like the idea of this being kind of compulsory. But like, I don't know. Like, I there's probably a way to do this that's the most fair. I personally like not making duplicates of rewards, only to cut down on like complexity of like a big NPC that just has to give you 40 cloaks, kind of a deal.
Yeah, there could be ways to balance also other things. So like the way that this is balanced here is that, you know, if you're on the top team, you get less, you know, RXP and faction XP, and if you're on the bottom team, you get more. So people are encouraged to pick generally if you want your own rewards, the lower tiered, or like the lower reward faction. If that makes sense.
That's scroll up. That's in the thing.
Yeah, I have it on here.
Yeah.
So that's a bigger thing.
Yeah, like I don't know. I think it'd be pretty cool. Like, no, I don't know. I think this is a just a really an interesting riff on like League thing, because like DDO didn't invent League play. We just happened to be like pretty good for it. Like DDO kind of abides the fresh start. It feels good. and
Yeah.
like players seem to really like it. So like,
Yeah, and it's important to note as well that like some of the question of like, well, if you're designing it for all these things, wouldn't that take a lot of resources or something? This is you guys can't see it, but this is titled Hardcore 69 420. This is very far in the future. This is a hardcore league 1,000 years from now, where the budgetary concerns are not as important. So like, how would you upgrade it? Well, it's more a question of how would you go about doing it, not like who's going to do it, because that's the art department. They're going to take care of that. There's like 100,000 people that work for that department when DDO takes over. So we're thinking about more of general concept, what's more interesting, and then could you like, just generally how to make something a little bit more exciting. Because I think that, we already have what we already have, right? So we already have Hardcore League. We already know how it works. Sometimes you get new champions. Sometimes it's a special rule with extra lives. What if there were more rules or more changes? What are the things that go all the way to the end, right?
yeah, and like sometimes you have to have bad ideas before you can have good ideas.
Yeah.
And that's another good thing about working on DDO is that we're gonna make mistakes, and when we do, we can simply correct them and move on. We don't have to dwell on our mistakes forever. We can learn from them and figure out what to do, and like just go off for it. If we put together a hardcore league that everybody hates, we don't have to do that again. Like we could we could go, oh, whoops, sorry about that, and then move on. And we don't have to, continue to make it worse.
Yeah. What would stop everyone from being on the same faction to ensure the best stuff? Each faction gives different cosmetics. So
Yeah,
that's what would stop it.
and
If there's red, blue, and like shadowy cosmetics, and you're like, I think the shadow one looks the coolest, you're probably gonna join the shadow faction. Like you wouldn't pick the ones that you don't want.
exactly. And I think that we can get away with like if you're in the middle, you actually get bottom, you get like plus 40% kind of a deal. You know what I mean? Or like 30 and then 15. So that way either you're at the top, which means you're winning and your cosmetics get upgraded, or you still get bonuses.
Yeah.
So it's like it's either you get the cosmetic bonuses, which is the point of Hardcore League, that is what you're doing it for, it's why you picked that faction.
So
Or you
yeah.
earn your other rewards faster, which gets you closer to the top. You know what I mean?
Okay, so case study about this. So there's a video game out there. It's called Destiny 2. When they first released, they had faction-based competition. And you would basically get these faction tokens anytime you did anything. And based on which faction turned in the most, there was a reward that actually went out. So whichever faction won, everyone that was playing got the reward, even if it wasn't yours. But the rewards were physically different. In fact, there were actually like special guns that were completely unique. So some of them never saw the light of day. They like just literally never got added to the game because the one for your faction didn't win, which was always my faction because I always picked the wrong one. But how would you feel about something like something similar to like the super secret reward, something like that, where you said like, the red shield, like if it was red team that won, then everyone that's playing gets the red shield. Like it's like some at the beginning of it, there's like a big reward you can visibly see. Like it wasn't a secret. And how big could that physically be?
Oh wait, so
So
like
imagine like yeah,
rather than a super secret reward, it's that there's also a global reward for each faction. If that faction wins, everybody who participates get the reward.
correct. So if there's like if you have a huge reward where it's like maybe it's like a shield, maybe it would even be something as huge as like, a new race gets added to the game and whichever faction wins gets to add, that's the next thing that goes on the table.
I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but the trick with that is that we would secretly implement the same race, and then no matter which one won, we would say, "Oh, it's that race," and have that one ready.
Just railroad
Like
it onto there. Yeah, exactly. Wait, we knew
exactly,
that. We
like
knew that was gonna happen. Yeah.
it's like if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, the pen and paper,
Yeah.
and you're like, I don't want to go to the tavern, and in your head you're like, oh, but the NPC in the tavern's really good, and they go, I want to go to the potion shop. You put the NPC from the tavern into the potion shop. They talk to them.
Yep.
You cannot get away.
You can't get away from that NPC. They're just always there. Yeah.
They're always there. Like
A tavern is just a different kind of potion shop,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay,
Did
cool.
this happen with the Kobold race poll? No, I believe the poll actually happened before we started work.
And
I'm personally happy.
Dragonborn did win the poll though,
Yes.
and we got
I
Dragonborn.
think Dragonborn looked great.
They do look great. Yeah.
I think they're great. Like I think we did a great job with them. I'm very excited for Isle of Dread.
Me too.
Like I'm excited to see what's going on.
Yeah, we don't know what a lot of the new features are, but I know that at the very least, bullywugs. There's dinosaurs on the island. Bullywugs are made
You
uh,
signed a whole NDA. What? No.
sorry guys, I spoiled it. You heard it here first. It's me, SSG Strimtom. So therefore I can, it's a big part of it. All right, so we did this. This seems pretty fleshed out. Are there any of those other ideas that you wanted to flesh out along with Faction League? Because I think Faction League sounds pretty good. Like just from
Actually,
the
seems
concept.
awesome.
There's probably some like glaring flaw in here that I haven't thought of, but
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it feels like what's good about this is that it's flavor-wise expandable.
yeah,
Like,
exactly. Because you can
like
fit
the
this into
idea.
anything.
Yeah, exactly. Like this was supposed to be about let's talk about themes, but instead it's like let's look at what Hardcore League is doing. I think that's just really cool. Like
Yeah.
this is the kind of collaborative design that I didn't really expect Twitch chat to be able to pick up the other end of. But
Uh, let's see. What else is here? Yeah, Platinum League. I mean, I have no idea how you would even do that because that would be an individual person thing. Um,
I like that the idea that like the rewards are available. They just cost 50 million platinum to unlock.
you just need to dump in enough over time. Yeah.
Yeah, like well, we're gonna sell you tickets or something, and you need to collect like 50 of them, and they cost 1 million each. And if you get 50 tickets, you give it to an NPC, and they'll flag your account with the level 20 cloak.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. How about I would like to flesh out the idea of a League of Chaos, maybe, because this one doesn't seem like it would take that long. Basically, what do you think you could put in something where there's a high level of randomness that would also somehow be acceptable? So imagine you keep the paradigm of we're earning favor and Reaper XP, but you have a whole bunch of randomness. What would be like
Gosh.
if you put it together? So how many acceptably random things could you put together? So I'm gonna put this here. Did you use the header?
Yeah, there's a whole it's underneath the it's like normal text drop down. But you click header too. It also adds a little there's a little table of contents over the side.
Oh,
You
there
could
we
jump
go.
between.
Yeah. So Chaos League. So
So
what
so
could
I'm
you
gonna take
randomize?
an unconventional approach here. I
Mhm.
don't think that true randomness is very fun.
Well, it wouldn't
Like
be
the
true randomness. It would be instances of individual randomness.
Yeah, but like we did the Madness League with Mimic Hunt,
Yeah.
and that was random and it was deadly and it was fun, but it was random in a way that you could predict because the mimics only were chests. So it's like you knew either it was coming or it wasn't. There was only like one incidence of randomness to the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I would kind of want we to pick us to pick another very common aspect of DDO and add that randomness there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
The easiest thing to do if we wanted to do a true random thing that was still within the acceptable bounds, um, is simply to just replace all the monsters with random monsters. Whenever you spawn a monster, spawn a different one instead. Now, granted, that's impossible.
Yeah,
Like
that's not
DDO
doable.
does not work like that. DDO is very baked in. Like monsters are placed in place and saved, and the land block is loaded into the game. Um, but
Okay.
high in the sky monster complete randomness there. Just replace every monster with a random monster and call it a day. Like just that's it.
Actually, I'm just gonna put this into a timer. Okay, so that's an idea. What about I'm trying to think of other things that would be acceptable levels of randomness that would fit in because there was already mimics where mimics have a level of randomness. Um, Potion effects. Potions can do something different to you every time you drink them, but not everybody's drinking a potion. I think the problem with adding like a something where it's chaotic and something random is happening to you all the time is that I agree with you. It would be unsatisfying when, especially when something very bad happens. It's like how often does it happen where you get killed by a champion or a set of champions you weren't expecting, and then that's already dissatisfying enough. Um,
Yeah, and like you
and
can play around
that's
the
very
mimic hunt.
predictable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can play around the mimic hunt by
yeah,
not looting chests or staying away from people who are looting chests. Like you can hedge your bets. But if it's like, whenever you cast a spell, a random spell happens, well then you just can't play the game. Like, if every monster has the potential to one-shot you without warning, you just can't really play the game. I would say if you want to do a random thing, either it would be the insanely time-intensive and also, frankly, impossible monster replacement system that I know for a fact wouldn't work, or this kind of gets merged with the random paths thing, and we build like a 100 terrible paths and randomly give you one,
Hmm.
and you're stuck with it, and that's it.
And you just have to pick, you have to play the character path.
Yeah, and like you can delete that character and try again, but like since it's random, you actually don't know which one you're getting until you're pretty far into it.
And if there's like
And hopefully,
100, it's pretty, there's the odds you get the one you want are, yeah.
yeah,
Oh, true.
exactly.
And sometimes it would just start with something and you wouldn't even know all of them.
Yeah, and like if it's that many, it's kind of impossible to be able to map them all out, and it would also be impossible for you to know because like if you're after a specific rogue build, well, if there's like 100 things and there's 15 classes, well then there's like 6.5 rogue builds at level 1. You know what I mean? So you wouldn't even know which one you are until
Yep.
you level up a few times. Um.
That's a great idea.
Each. Oh, that's a good idea from chat. The idea that you modify the instance as a whole randomly would be pretty cool. Like randomly, certain dungeons are now fire themed, and everything is fire, and the floor is lava.
So what I'm learning is Chaos League is the most expensive hardcore league possible.
Yes, it would take a million years and wouldn't work.
Yep.
Like it just wouldn't work. DDO is not built like this. Um. Unfortunately, random teleportation is also something that we can't do. We can't enter you into an instance without asking you for permission through the portal UI. I guess we could
Mm,
change that. But like, if you touch a door and we're gonna secretly teleport you to Vela's lair, it would actually pop up with like, "Do you want to enter the plane of night?" And you can say no, like, which kind of
yeah.
removes the surprise and the danger.
Yeah, because you see it right
Um,
away.
I mean, we could do this because we could make it so that if you're on the hardcore league, you just automatically go through portal UIs.
Oh, it doesn't give you but you wouldn't know the difficulty.
It would take the difficulty of the source instance if you're already in a dungeon at a difficulty, and that dungeon is not an adventure area. This would break like Tangleroot and nothing else. We would just close the quest that breaks. We could do that.
What about a hardcore league that was just a challenge? So it was like a townless hardcore league
Oh, where there's no public spaces?
where there's no public spaces, and instead you just run in, like it assigns you like 10 random dungeons of a certain level, and then once you've completed your 10, then you get to a room that has the trainers in it and it's level 2, and you can like group with other players, and then you go to the next room.
That's very roguelike. I think we could build that if we build out like fake public spaces. Like we build a public space, but we don't put the public space like buffs in it. And that NPC at the end of it would be trainers and like shops and stuff like that, and the NPC would handle teleporting you to dungeons.
Yep.
And we just track the number of like dungeons. The problem is that like an exit waypoint, we'd have to determine if you're leaving an instance.
Yeah,
Possible.
the exit would have to take you into the next dungeon directly. Also, I
Possible,
have
yeah.
no idea what happens if you log out.
We would delete your character. It's the easiest way to do that. No,
Yeah.
I like this. This to me sounds like some sort of like Sigil City of Doors thing.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way. It's unfortunate. DDO has some real problems with stuff like this because our content is very like built in the world and can't really be changed on the fly depending on circumstances. So we'd
Mhm.
have to like build out paths ahead of time, or keep it within the same instance somehow.
Yeah.
Um,
I was going to say another problem would be that I can already see cropping up from something like this is that because Dungeons and Dragons Online is instanced, it wouldn't tell you, like, there's no way for you to take a break, which is another problem, which is like an issue I see with pretty much adding like an endless challenge in like Dungeons and Dragons anywhere else is like, imagine you wanted something that scaled forever and like the difficulty just got harder. You couldn't, like, you'd have to play for hours because DDO just
That's
doesn't
a
let you do something.
that's a
Um,
good point. Like roguelikes you can get away with like a 6 hour game of a roguelike, even though that's pretty rare. Most of them are about an hour full for a full run.
yeah, but
Because
DDO is
you can
like
pause the game
yeah,
and go get a drink.
yeah, but DDO is like
Um
several hundred, like, or 100 hours or whatever it is.
yeah, and like it would feel pretty bad if like, you're on a really hot streak and you're doing really well, and then like
Hmm.
the power goes out and we can't save you intermittently, you know what I mean? The same way that an offline game would.
So what if? Okay, I actually have an idea for this one. Okay, so
Okay.
this is, I think I might have a way to solve this. So Chaos League is a bad idea,
Mhm.
but I'm gonna call this. What do we call this? This is I don't know, quest challenge league. Okay, so the basic principle behind this, and this is how I think about it, is that you know, you complete. Let's just say you complete the grotto, and it automatically takes you to level 2, and it automatically puts you in a level 2 town area. And basically the idea is that, so you go into level 2 town and you have the ability to level up. And leveling up is contingent on completing each dungeon in an area. So there's like 10 dungeons, there's like 10 doors, and you have to go to each door. So it's not random. It's just instead community driven feedback where you ask the community for what dungeons they think are the best out of all of the level 2s. And you
I
have to
see what you
complete
mean.
all 10 of the level 2, and then once those are selected, then that goes in there. So before the thing comes out, you have like a big either community driven survey, or you get a group of people to come through and
We
select
we
it.
we just we just have that information. We can just the video game will tell us.
Yeah, the video game
Um,
would tell us based on which
the video game
quests
will
are the
tell us.
people's favorites.
Yeah.
And so you would
No,
have
that's
so you'd have
solid
to complete like
because
10 dungeons and you move on, but there's no vendors, so you can't, well, not no vendors, but there's no you can't like buy gear or anything else. There's no auction house, that sort of thing. And you're just using what you have, and you can't repeat a quest. Once you've completed the quest, you're locked out. And then
so
once you've done
this
all
is
10, you
really
move on.
what I like about this more than the roguelike thing, is that you can actually play with your friends.
Yeah.
Like you can play with people. This does remind me of the game Sword Art Online, um, which is a fake video game from the anime Sword Art Online. Um,
Oh, I'd assume you'd have no guild ships. So you'd have like,
y-
because there's no like, most town elements are gone. So like bank,
you'd
AH ship.
probably have a bank.
Okay, you could probably have a bank maybe, but no auction house. I guess maybe you could have auction house. So I think, yeah. So you maybe you'd have auction house, but you'd have like no ship. What else would you not have? No faction, or like not faction. Favor patrons. No patrons because there's no town.
Yeah, I don't think this will. I also don't think this works very well with a faction-based thing.
No,
Because this
this
is
would
more
be
of
a
like an
different. This would be
individual.
an entirely different like league
Yeah,
idea.
I'm just thinking out loud here.
Yeah.
I think this is really interesting, and we can also just really weirdly mess with it. Like maybe the leaderboard is how fast can you do this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Like,
we track
yeah.
your character's lifetime between all the times you're logged in. So if you don't want to, if you want to go to bed, for example, log out. You know what I mean? So that way you go play other video games like you're not playing for 6 hours in a row. Um, like yeah, this would be really interesting.
Yeah, I
Like
feel like you increase in level when you complete all of the quests in the area, and then once you've
mhm.
completed them, you then move on to the next level. So you move on to your level 3 now, and you're doing level 3 quests, and then you move on to level 4, and you're doing level 4 quests, and you kind of move on one step at a time once you complete all the quests in each area. So
Yeah.
it's like an assigned challenge. Um, and then you could even have like an extra 11th quest that is like either a harder version of one of the quests that's there. That's like an extra challenge. So if you complete each of the challenges, you get a thing. And you would have rewards at each tier. So you'd have like, instead of having a a Reaper reward or whatever, you'd have a level 10 reward. You'd have a level, or like a 5,
I
10,
would
15,
I would
20.
do I would do one reward that upgrades, like a cloak that gets brighter, you know what I mean, kind of a thing, like a
Yeah.
shield that gets more on fire. That way, you're not holding a thousand different disparate cosmetics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like I like this. Like I think this is really cool. I don't know if 10 quests per level.
I'm just using like a number, you know. It could
Yeah,
be
part of me thinks this should just be like enough quests to actually level you. You know what I mean?
oh, like the
But
XP has
like,
already been like mathed out.
yeah, but or like we do some sort of like heavy ransack, and if the rewards are like if the leaderboard is based off of time, like time you've spent logged into the game,
Hmm.
then having severe ransack is enough because it can't be faster to play the same quest over and over again because the ransack is so severe you'd actually be going slower than just playing the game normally.
Well, the reason why I thought like it was only you complete each quest one time is that one, it's as opposed to being a time-based thing, is actually you could do both, but the idea is that because you can't repeat quests, you have to work with whatever equipment and items you get as you go along, giving it kind of like the roguelike feel to it. And if you
Yeah,
play quests on normal difficulty, you might not get items that are as good, but the quests are going to be slightly easier. And then you have like a
which might make it harder later on.
yes, exactly.
No, that's pretty solid. I think this is yet another like I think this idea needs a little bit of refinement, but I think this is touching on a different type of challenge in a way I really like. Like
Hmm.
this is pretty cool.
Because you everyone has like the same challenge that they have to accomplish, but as opposed to the quest would be like handpicked ahead of time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
No, it makes sense. Like I we would have to build this out.
yeah,
So we would have to pick the quests. No, this is pretty solid. I think if I were doing this, I would probably make it so that there is an auction house, and all gear while this is running is like bind a character on equip kind of a deal.
yeah.
So like the sub game is like playing the auction house because then you can buy gear for your one run all the way up.
And the vendors are brokers, so things that people sell you can buy, but it's all
Yeah,
expensive.
no, that is solid.
Actually, brokers instead of auction house might
Yeah,
even
no,
work.
that'd be cool. I kind of like the auction house because it has filtering.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
Auction house has
from a
filtering.
usability standpoint,
Brokers are would be annoying. Yeah,
but the idea that there are brokers rather than standard vendors because we're making this instance, you know what I mean? Like we're hand making this, so we
yeah.
could do that.
So if
Like,
you like sell like 3 swords out of your inventory, somebody else could check the broker and be like, "Ooh, perfect," and just grab a thing because they found wands or what not wands, but like scepters or some nonsense.
yeah, I kind of like that because it's like it kind of gives you the sort of impression that you're like building up for an expedition. You know what I mean? Like maybe
Yeah.
this should be like some sort of mountain themed like thing where you're like climbing a snowy mountain and like you need to participate in order to continue. There's a lot of different ways to slice this thematically. I really like this
Mhm.
idea.
And then you could, like I said, there, you could have like a still like an ink. So you'd have like your one scaling, like let's say you had a cloak that would scale and look more impressive the farther you got into it, and then you could still have like a tiered reward. So like a level 20 reward if you finish that, or or an apex reward for getting all the way, or like a time based thing.
Yeah, I would definitely have rewards where it's like you reach like let's say we're going all the way to level 30
Hmm.
cuz like why not? You would have one at like level 10, level 20 and level 30. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like 'cause that just makes sense and then there's also like a participatory thing that gets cooler the more you do. So if you just log onto the server and grab it, then like congrats man, you got your thing. You know, it doesn't do much. But
Yeah.
like if you grind it out, you've got a fundamentally different looking and more impressive cosmetic.
Yeah.
Um no, this is also really cool.
It's a
I think this
completely
is
different idea. So you wouldn't have favor in here, and you may or may not even need to have Reaper XP. You could probably, if you wanted to. So if people want to have some aspect, I don't know how you would do that. But then yeah, if you die, you have to like the hardest part about this is obviously if you die, you have to repeat the whole thing, and it's the same thing every time, which might kill its playability. So this might actually lend itself to being a shorter league
yeah, that's a good point I didn't think about. Is that like
because
at the
you
very least, if you're frustrated in hardcore league, you don't actually have to do the same route every single time.
Yeah.
And like the idea that like if you like I don't know if I really want the situation where a player would die in the same dungeon twice and
Yeah.
like they would never play that dungeon again like
Yeah.
on the live servers like
Oh, I
no
know a
I
lot of
mean
people that die in the same dungeon twice. People that I've know people that have died to the same trap twice.
well they probably didn't have a very good time.
Oh, genius! You have checkpoints. No, you know what's even better? When you reach certain areas, you can make what do you call them? Veteran status characters.
Oh
So
wow,
like once you get to
yeah.
10, you can make a veteran 4, and once you get to like 20, you can make a veteran 7 or whatever.
No, that's pretty solid. It wouldn't get you all the way back, but like you wouldn't feel like you're losing all of your progress and like that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
And
because
because
the
it's like
it's not
because you're
about like
starting with nothing.
yeah, it's not cumulative, so you're not trying to like earn XP or favor. So a dead character, like a level 4 character, all level 4 characters are the same in terms of progress. It's getting to that level that would matter.
And what's interesting about this is that just like with veteran status, sometimes it's better to not because you actually don't get any gear. Like
Yeah, because if you leveled up like organically 1 to 4, you would have a whole bunch of items, but veteran status, you have a bunch of Korthos items.
yeah, so like the idea that like this would be good for later on in the season when you have a whole bunch of stuff in your shared bank because in the back of your mind you're like I got to stock up just in case I die. And like no, this is pretty solid.
Yeah.
You should take a lot of painkillers and some Red Bill more. You're a really good designer when you're
You can actually, I was about to say, instead of having to complete every quest, you could have to complete like 8 out of 10 quests or something like that. So people have quests, if they don't like them, they don't have to do them.
Well, I mean, if I were designing this, I would pick quests that nobody likes that are incredibly difficult, or I would change those quests in order to make them more difficult artificially. Like it would be like if we're picking the dungeons ahead of time,
Yeah.
then we could go into those dungeons and hook it up so that on hardcore they do a special thing. Like
So if you're on hardcore, a quest that might, people maybe really enjoy and might be really easy. So let's just say like Kobold Ringleader, except there's more boxes and more kobolds. And there's
yeah,
2 ogres at the end. And you're like,
and the
oh
ogre
yeah,
has a
right.
gun. The ogre has a gun,
He has a gun,
and
yeah.
then
Or a
yeah, I
cannon,
mean
and he just shoots cannonballs at you.
that would be pretty fun. I think that's a
Or you
really
open the
good.
door and it's the ogres riding the rust monster, and the little horn plays when the door opens.
That would be a great joke, but now we can't do it because you said that out loud.
Damn it.
Um,
Uh
I think this is like
it's a really
really
simple
interesting.
idea, but it's kind of neat
Yeah.
because it just twists the whole thing on its head. And it gives you a very roguelike sort of thing. Like I said, after you complete each quest, you get kicked back to the central town, which is just a room with a bunch of doors and some vendors.
Mhm.
And so you could do it with your friends. You just can't re-enter the same area, obviously. And yeah, I don't know. Seems like a cool idea.
Yeah, I really like this. Good gracious. Well,
Yeah, Hardcore
I
League.
think
There's a lot of options. This is what I'm learning.
yeah, this is really cool. I think this is like it's we're lucky that DDO is so strange and modular like that. You can build out these crazy ideas and they actually just might work. Like it's just really cool.